I'd like to introduce to you the participants of this long session. Maxim Kolesnikov, Deputy Minister for Economic Development, responsible for artificial intellect in the country on the whole. Vadim Kulik, Deputy Chairperson of the Management of the Board of Directors of Sberbank. Sergey Khotimskiy, who is the first Deputy President of the Sovcombank. Alexander Kraynov, who is the main Chief Manager in the Yandex. Andzhey Arshavskiy, who and the Moscow Stock Exchange Senior Vice President, a Managing Director responsible for data. Andzhey, our talk will be built in the following way. It's going to be a presentation, my presentation. Then we're going to answer several questions. Nothing new. So, in fact, what is artificial intellect? And, of course, we are supposed to have some computer bugs, of course. Artificial intelligence is intellect in finances. Let's see for 3 minutes how it looks like. $300 million that can be earned by financial organizations in 2030. 80% of the banks have already using it. In the Russian Federation, we believe it's going to be about 1 additional % by implementing artificial intellect in different industries. Let's see further on, and we understand that why it's going to happen. The cost of artificial intellect is falling dramatically, and artificial intellect is becoming a simple commodity-based solution that needs to be and should be implemented everywhere. The capabilities of artificial intellect is growing. We can compare different ways. We can compare by the number of connections, and we see that the human being has thousands of trillions of connections in this brain. And this simple table shows where the models are located. We're using now modular models, in contrast to the human being. Chinese model has achieved such a level that at the level of an ape. Given the trend and speed we are working at, and by year 2025 we will have a grid that will be comparable with the neural connections of human beings. If it's good or bad, we will quit talking about that sort of state-of-the-art technology. Everything is built on this mega universe model that has many parameters. They call the century, multimodality, multitasking, multi-language. 600 tasks are resolved by the Gata model, and the Google model resolves 600 tasks, and they are coping with the financial tasks. And this model can distinguish very well pictures, and it can distinguish who is going to pay back credits, loans, or who is not. It's a very good model that is capable of resolving the recognition tasks. The Gartner curve we see here together with the artificial intelligence, the metaverse that is built on artificial intellect, but rather than meta universe. We are not going to talk about much about this meta universe and the meta universe of Vtb, of Sberbank, and all that. I think it's going to be interesting for them to discuss it. And artificial intellect is a big game changer in terms of communication with the clients. We understand that sooner or later we all are going to tap that technology also. And moving on, I'd like to ask several questions to the colleagues while the slide is being prepared. So how are they using this artificial intellect? Let's fantasize a little bit. Perhaps everyone is going to have their own assistant based on the artificial intellect. Double digital twin employee, a searcher, and the Yandex surfer. We have this in the Yandex. The content which is generated by the user, or it's by his or her digital twin. And what we have had now, the voice communication system, HR assistants, we all know about that because Sberbank is going to earn more than 200 billion rubles through implementing artificial intellect. There are questions to you, dear colleagues. There are 3 questions to you, and we will go like that. From Maxim to Andzhey. How do you see the future of artificial intellect? I would challenge you to fantasize what state-of-the-art developments and solutions of the meta-universe might influence the artificial intellect and the financial sector. Just a little bit in terms of planning, what solutions based on artificial intellect are being implemented. Is it achievable or not achievable? Do we need that, or this trend might be gone over time? Maxim, take the floor. Yes, hello, dear colleagues. First of all, let's fantasize a little bit. And for the future, I would like to start at the end, see what we're doing now for this capability for future, as the statistics like doing it according to some estimations of the National Center for Artificial Intellect of Russia. The financial sector is the leader in implementation of these technologies based on artificial intellect, and about 57% on the whole of this sector. And this or that way have been using artificial intellect in their work, and a calculated economic effect from using artificial intellect last year amounted to 300 billion rubles. So we see what is being done by the government, what is being planned to be done in terms of developing these trends. First of all, it's kind of a formal part. We have a valid legal project that is called Artificial Intellect. As part of this project, we are doing some work on developing these trends, these areas, and the first big area of activities is the work done on communication of vendors and developers of those products based on artificial intellect by major customers. There are special measures of support. Over the last 2 years, the developers have obtained grants up to 4 billion rubles. And the second major area that is important is, of course, the personnel involved in developing these trends in this area. As part of the federal project, together with Russia, Country of Opportunities, we are holding the Karton Championship dedicated to artificial intellect. The private actors are involved, including the central bank. The Sberbank and stakeholders also are involved. Vedyakhin and Sovcombank are also involved. That's why I'm giving your names, all the participants. And presently, up to more than 15,000 people have been involved in these events. And one more substantial unit of communication and connection between the technologies and the implementation. And it is 6 research centers set up last year based on the basis of biggest educational organizations called Tech, High School of Economics and others. More than 8 billion rubles of funds are to be earmarked until the year 2024 to develop those centers. And what is important to state here is the basic trends and areas of activities of those centers is a joint effort to be made together with the industrial partners. The centers are focusing on specific projects for businesses, to cater for the businesses' interests. For example, the Sberbank company is an industrial partner for the 3 of all those 6 research centers in the area of artificial intellect. One of them is a model program-based program that enables to analyze risks, physical risks for credit portfolios, and which will enable to reduce the losses by 5% in insurance. This is what has been done really, and as a prospect, we will talk about that. The main prospect here is the Ministry for Economic Development sees the further development of artificial intellect in the real economic sectors, because we've done a big job together with our Sberbank colleagues, and we understand that these technologies are more or less in this or that way have been implemented in the real economic sectors by the leaders, mainly by the leaders of some industries and some businesses. We see that this implementation is not going to be unipresent, but on a higher scale, perhaps more probable. When you ask questions about the future, and you see good statistics every time, you see good statistics covering the past. That the Sberbank, I have lauded Sberbank 4 times. The VTB is counting how many times the Sberbank is lauded, extolled. It's when we join your conference. Okay, but this is not a Sberbank conference, by the way. In the meantime, we found out the panel. We found out that the Sberbank is also the company leader in developing artificial intellect. Everything is quite complex. Everything is complex and quite sophisticated and entangled, and he is a real professional in untangling. And as a person from the bottom of this area, it's very hard for me to dispute about the meta universe. Is hard for me because my consciousness has gotten frozen on the ecosystems. Not everyone has completed with that ecosystem-based tasks, and if we move on to the meta universes, it's like a leap from feudalism to communism. It's impossible. What I wanted to fantasize about, that the artificial intellect is an aspect, a topic that it has long become, it's not a hype, but we all have been using it for a long time. It's not a secret. The banks in the Sberbank, more than 4,000 models, different models have been implemented and working. They forecast, predict defaults, and robots optimize the portfolios and investments, my investments, and the recognition technologies that are working. The problem here is becoming we have thousands of them, and in fact, what is to be done with them? We all start incurring mass model-based risks. It can be revealed in several aspects. The first is the management of a major figure, a number, and the second thing is the control over the quality of data. And this quality of data, in fact, we have encountered very often the fact that the more data we collect, the better models are, and the more interesting results are. What we collect outside have gaps or some poor quality elements. This is the new basis, foundation for artificial intellect. Completing those gaps, remediating those defects we obtained so far. This is first, from my point of view, first big area. The second one is the knowledge of exchanging these data. This is a story about the data fusion technology and others. This is how to combine, marry the data with each other so that it could not be leaked or hacked from the other side. But what's the essence in retrieving this data from those unified databases? And how is the artificial intellect working here, so it can handle those cells that in such a way that it could not be deciphered. This is another major area for artificial intellect. And then we know, by using those credit risks, we understand that history, that as soon as this banking scoring appeared, some fraudsters appeared, anti-scoring. And all this war has been underway since the late 1990s, and this war is going to see a new serial. This is about creation at the level of models of different things, features that could cheat the model. Is the buzzword adversarial attacks. very fashionable aspect connected with the computer eyesight. When they take two photos, a fraudster and not a fraudster, and they combine, overlap these two models for the main technology of recognition, not to be able to distinguish from each other, and a number of fraud cases is built on this, or sites of the geolocation recognition of the site. If, for example, on a car, on a tank, you put two crosses, the satellite picture is not recognized as a fraud, as a scam. Consequently, the fight against these technologies, adversarial technologies, is a new aspect, a new subject. There's another area. The observance of this, performance of this model itself is also artificial intellect, the technology of self-organization or self-control exercised by artificial intellect, and this is another area where we can see lots of new things appear. I might have enumerated some kind of otherworldly things, but it's not about 10 years to be implemented. It's about how artificial intellect, the way it will have to develop in these new areas, in its further development and evolution. Thank you so much. All this is important, Sergey. So from the Sovcombank, take the floor. 10 years or what is going on now. I will tell a bit about this and that. For us, what we see here is, for the Sovcombank, very interesting moment. Time is coming. There's the artificial intellect has gone through stages when it was science, and then it was a creation. Now it's become a craft. In this sense, today, what is possible is mass use application of these technologies. The barriers have become not very high, and we are encountering the fact that we can develop tens of projects implemented in parallel at the same time, simultaneously connected with artificial intellect. The most pronounced things are speech recognition, patterns-based technologies, and technologies of picture and image recognition, and these are the technologies that enable to optimize those chat bots all the banks are using, and spare lots of money on this. It's about 300 million earned by using artificial intellect, 200 million, okay, plus 100 million more. And it's like we're about to start discussing how much we have earned by using the computers or by using the databases. It's becoming a kind of hygiene. It's becoming a daily routine, which is great. It's because it enables very much to grow further from the point of CRM technologies, from forecasting, in terms of more correct servicing clients, and to prevent credit-connected frauds and risks of losses. For us, losses are a higher spread between the rates of extracting money and investing that money. It might stimulate, it might stamp down the economy, and by using that, by accruing that 1% per year, is that if we learn to be more efficient in terms of costs, in terms of losses, we can add if that banking spread reduces. And in this respect, the time is the time for practical usage, because the machines, computers, are working faster. Libraries and those applications are getting more efficient. These are not mega developers, and what area for activities is left for the coolest guys, the coolest brains that are working in such areas as, for example, the state-of-the-art graph. And that was great. Is in the lower part, in the lowest part, we can obtain lots of practical results. 80% of the effects is obtained by 20% of efforts, according to Pareto, and the user benefit is is visible. Today we don't calculate how much we have earned by using artificial intellect. We know that this is kind of hygienic part of the competition without which we can't exist. Talking about the future, I think someone should tell about the meta-universe. Metaverse in Russia, it's critically important to build that meta-universe in Russia. At least one or even more than one. It sounds a bit funny, but in some future, if this country fails to do that, might be a critical drawback. It might become a critical drawback, a critical defect for the country in terms of developing artificial intelligence-based technology, and regarding how the economy might be developing. And it's a lot of opportunities is provided for the banking sector. From my point of view, it's not that very. The most interesting for me is to consider elements of artificial intellect as clients. I believe that in the future they will have services to use those services. They will lend money. They are likely to become money lenders for as a person, as a financial organization, to use that. To earn money is a big issue, big question. And over the 10 years' time, it's become very much relevant. If you go to the Sovcombank and borrow tens of thousands of rubles or dollars and then squander that money, this is the question, one of those issues that might challenge the banks when the meta-universe is further developed. Alexander, I see. If I try to look into the future, you tend to make mistakes, because you tend to recall if 10 years ago, for example, I tend to think that 10 years' time is a very interesting, very big time, a long time, because 10 years ago, it was 2012, and 2012 an event happened, thanks to which we have been discussing the new advent of neural networks that had been known, but they'd never been used before. But beginning from 2012, all this, we have seen the growth of these, tremendous growth of these technologies. Looking at this technically, what has changed is we had a lot of what is called feature engineering. And if you want to recognize some picture by a method of close look, by casting a close look, you start to find those features on the picture by people that enable to distinguish each other. And some other tasks that were of imaging, some features were determined very long time, and the task was such: come on, let's take that particular picture of this person, let's optimize this, and the neural network scheme, and they started to resolve those end-to-end tasks. We don't know what features they're singling out. There are some techniques, methods to identify. We shouldn't give any prompts to them, because they are resolving these end-to-end tasks. In majority of those cases of using artificial intellect, when you think where you are supposed to use that technology, you have some long chain. There's a stage where a person starts solving some tasks, and let's optimize this particular stage. In fact, this task should be resolved by using the end-to-end method. Just take those data, those data that are structured, or not those data that have already been put in some tables, because you have already done something at this particular moment. At that particular moment, you single out some factors that seem to be important for you. Those latent factors that as you grow lost at that particular moment, and we fail to trace them. Some new techniques need to be sought that are going to be involved in the resolving of those end-to-end tasks. And there's an example given here. A model that knows 200 languages. What do you think? There's people who developed this model. Are you sure that those people knew those 200 languages? At least one person that knew those 200 400 languages. It was necessary for analysis of a text. Now a model can be done, performed by using a language you don't know. This is a new feature. The second thing of some major changes of which we are not thinking is it's not about the technology developing, it's about the people who are developing also. All those who are sitting here are not ready to developing those new technologies. When we say this word social technologies, I shudder. We don't want to this privacy. When I was at school, so we had that if someone had known that some girl you have liked, it was the pretext for changing that school because you could that guy could not be the subject of envy, because now people are writing in the social networks that it's all right because they have another request, because they have another attitude towards privacy, they have another attitude towards what shall be considered as comfortable. When some financial service made that kind of work, when they don't need that vapor identifier, and there are regulators and all that. And when this is broken, someone will skyrocket, because this one will hit the rest of those who are waiting for the new generation to come, those young guys who will grow up by the time, and that will be ready for other services that will demand, they're likely to demand something new. That's why all the products that are available we're developing for ourselves. We're optimizing for us to cater for our own interests, current interests. When we develop technologies, we should develop those technologies that are likely to provide for us right now, but also for those that can provide for all those new generations that will supposed to come and in our place. Thank you. The places are being changed now. The Sansara's song. It reminded after Sansara, after it was mentioned here, Andzhey, for 10 years, no one but robots based on artificial intellect have been working on this Moscow Stock Exchange. The first part is connected with the trading, and the second part is connected with compliance and market control. If we talk about the trading, in the micro trading on shorts, the robots are selling. Trading had been trading for a long time, and the part that is been trading through algorithms, not through the algorithm. If there's a difference between the simple algorithm and artificial intellect, I would single out these characteristics of education capabilities to the percentage of micro trading with using a artificial intellect. It varies from 10 to 70% in the micro trading organizations. A very big gap. There are no open data because the trading all close their algorithms. They never tell about how they work, with exception some advertising situations. That's why this gap between the experts' assessment is quite big, but the percentage of micro trading using the artificial intelligence has been growing. If we talk about the short-term or long-term investments, what is appearing as, what we see appear is the first solutions are based on artificial intellect that are accompanied by the traders. First of all, as it is announced in those prospects and solutions that are announced as artificial intellect-based solutions. And nevertheless, these are some robots that are based on education. And if we talk about the compliance, about fight against fraudsters and scam and fraud, is quite a big sector on the market. And the services are provided by the central bank. It's not about the analysis of operations, it's analysis of handwriting all those traders. It's about an analysis of social texts, social media, of Telegram channels. channels in the Telegram that are influencers on the market, and through which some kind of collusions are perpetrated. And this is a sector that has always been relevant. This is where AI-based technologies are very successful, very necessary. Talking about the future, as a prospect of 10 years, the share of those trades based on the AI-based tech is been growing. We will see the time when the robots will start and selling only robots, and we will see if they can collude with each other. And in terms of metaverse is the artificial intellect or intelligence trading on the stock exchange can fish any information that virtual meta-universe to retrieve those signals concerning where the market is going to, the signals of different nature. Even now there are systems that analyze the satellite pictures and photos regarding the movement of ships and storage facilities and their location in the seaports, so that it was possible to calculate, estimate some financial indicators for some companies and use them for trading. And here, the prospects and spectrum of possibilities of using artificial intelligence is tremendous, gigantic. And it's supposed and is likely to grow. Thank you, Andzhey. You have said that AI is making the strategy. For example, the database has such a strategy as the artificial intelligence that makes that is made by artificial intelligence. Without any people involved. There's a question. My question is to Vadim Valeryevich, from your point of view. AI is another important history, like Sergey has said. That involves computers, it's clear, and we should expect some kind of breakthroughs from this. I'm getting back to the same question. I'd like to hear you say something of that. And I wouldn't be ruling out. The microphone has been turned off. Alexander, see why I was saying about those thousands of models, about the problems with the data. That the models are competing with one another and getting restricted. They're restricting. It's always the case when there's a transfer. When we have that transfer towards from single objects to thousands of objects on sites and thousands of objects in PROM. You have to understand something has been withdrawn from PROM. Something is being prepared in thousands of workers. It's a library of several thousand elements, and we should understand how they worked, how efficiently they worked, and how efficiently they are going to be implemented. And it's true, in fact, that we had to develop some kind of conveyor belt which combines several elements, so-called platform of model development and platform of model implementation that are going to be integrated into those industrial control instruments. Now we have had that platform launched on the market. We have registered it. Now we are ready to sell that model on the market as a product of its own, and those instruments, tools of which I've been saying, Alex got interested in this. Alexander might say something. I'm not against the competition. I've always been for it. I think if there's competition, is always good. This is what we keep saying. This was very good with the central bank, of course. And I believe this discussion between two monopolies was not that bad, really. And part of this conveyor belt concerned a little bit with the fact that that the control of model risks per se is a very big chunk of work, and in which some industrial tools can be developed, produced, and implemented that can work also with these models per se. If we don't look at that, we will be challenged with huge layers of someone's. That's like those traders haven't taken some solutions. What addition, whom to bring to court for the mistakes made in this trading program? What problem to see that has not been resolved in this sector, in this model, or in implementation of this model that caused losses? The thing is, when the bank has everything simple, implement of the model risks influences financial results instantaneously, and what is needed is to see and control very quickly, very fast. And this industrial conveyor belt, if we can call it, the Vox model demands required similar industrial instruments, tools, as they are needed in production of any kind of code line, because it takes different testing, different stages. The model here in this respect is not an exception, Alexander. I'm not sure about how much better I have answered this question, but this is what we've been working a lot on now. Thank you. I have a kind of a funny aspect talking about the apes and men. When we compare apes and men, and we should understand that the following thing: I don't know how much the Chinese spent on developing that modular model simulating an ape. I think it would be much cheaper to hire a human being. There are industries which should not be entered without creation of those artificial apes, but to stay in this area, to keep that balance between the cost and effect, that enables to cheaply obtain a major effect. I see Sergey's reaction to the words artificial ape, and I'd like to talk about startups here. What I mean here, looking at Sergey, I apologize if my words have not been that correct. You were buying lots of startups recently. You bought a stake in that big company. How do you choose the startups? By using the artificial intelligence. I'm focusing on the startups that are involved in AI development. What are your interests? What are the spheres of your interests in terms of AI, in terms of purchasing those startups? What is better for you, to develop or to purchase, to acquire? Unfortunately, due to the ongoing events, we have had to withdraw with some promising projects. If we talk about the assets connected with the AI, I think we are not considering them as venture investors. We don't have that competence. We are investing into those things we're using on our own, and when we see the effects, and when you think that you're a state-of-the-art user, and you see some elements that benefit you tremendously, so you make a step forward in contrast to all those investors in understanding those pros and cons of this or that product. That's why we have had two teams in our portfolio that were quite advanced in terms of speech technology, so speech recognition technology in supporting chatbots. And in fact, in reality, this is where if you are concentrating deeply, there are companies that are involved in AI, covering all these aspects, areas. If you have such specific concentration, focused concentration, for example, those assistants on those assistants, or in supporting those chatbots, or secretaries that support some service functions inside of the banks, and deep expertise occurs. And what I like is that given the number of these outsourcers is growing, and what appears is kind of culture in banks not to do everything on their own, but to complete everything on their own, but to use some kind of vendors that have deep expertise in certain things, in certain areas, but believe that these are the support points that can turn out to be cool stuff. And when you receive a call from an AI, it's very hard in talking deeply. You can't understand that this is not a human being talking, and you should have a special competence to distinguish the AI talker from human talkers and the financial sectors, given that it is one of the pushers and one of the leaders in this respect. Together with Rostelecom, the financial sector is using speech recognition technologies in advance. At advanced level, they're sparing huge sums of money. For example, that's things that seemed 2 or 3 years ago to be unpractical. Robots are selling better than men, than people. The last pilot projects have shown that what robots are selling, financial product, they can sell those financial products at a higher conversion, by the way, than the people can. We select them as, in such a way that they can call, they can send hundreds of calls. For example, if we compare with Sberbank, they get adjusted depending upon whom they're calling. And getting back to this, we have always been for practical things because our competence. We are not going to be developers of those meta universe, sovereign meta universe. We are not going to be investors. We're not going to buy because we don't have even a small bit. When there's some practical things, we come across some practical things that can be tested very quickly and get a good effect and understand that it works. This is a very good stuff. And second criterion, when we see that we can, not a software programmer or a developer, but linguists, people who don't have such super skills that are able to obtain a machine, a computer that has competences higher than that of human within a very short time. This creates kind of a wow effect when you start to understand this is something huge, tremendous, practical thing, a resource, huge resource of potential cutting edges, potential advantages. If the AI makes mistakes, there's a question to Andzhey. We were talking about robots selling, but they make mistakes. 2 questions. Can it be interpreted if a AI, for example, distinguishes a cat from a dog, and it's it's all right, it's of no concern. Why did you decide that? What we see when trading is on, when mistakes are made, sometimes you feel like giving a question why you have done that and who is to blame and what is to be done. And when something is done by human, it's clear to whom to talk to. If this is done by an AI, how do you see this interpretability and responsibility of AI for the mistakes on specifically on the market of securities? How do you see this for the AI technologies? If a problem occurs with investments with humans, and the trader says that how come this an AI that has made that decision, that the key difference between the AI and human is that the AI cannot be imprisoned. It can be, if it can be imprisoned, it won't be discouraged in this situation. What are you aiming at? What are you at by saying that? What I mean is that in the final end, of course, it is a human that should be asked for what he or she is investing into. Those who are using this AI, brokers, different managers of funds, they are responsible, they are obligated from the point of ethics of the AI to let the end user know that the trades are going to be performed with AI, using the AI. And AI, from point of interpretation of the final results, it depends on what you compare with. The biggest control is exercised by many if he or she does trading on their own. If you use some brokers, it's hardly possible to tell regarding how this investment, this or that investment decisions are taken. But talking about AI, when dealing with AI, you can explain in detail on the basis of what signals and principles this or that decision has been taken. That's why the potential of interpretability and clarity, transparency in those trades on the part of AI is much bigger, it's much higher than the approaches used now. The responsibility, of course, in the final end falls on those who are selling these AI technologies. It's not on those who are developing, but in final end, those who test and adopt that is a human that is planning to use that technology. Vladimir Levich has given us a broad smile, because you kept saying, right, I was sitting here with this sullen face, and I couldn't portray today's case. I have the VIP client called me, and there's a call center that blocked his operation had been blocked on his bank. We are trying to kick around what to answer, and neural just assigned some figure, and why a decision was taken by neural network, no one could explain. What is responsible for incurred by the bank before this client, and how can I just explain what to the chief, my chief, what is 606, and why this neural network decided that way? And the most horrible one, the creepiest one, is what to correct with this figure 606, 606. That figure, is it good or is it completely bad? And the neural networks in the financial sector, in the financial decisions, are correct regulators in all the countries. But in fact, in taking financial decisions, it's not welcome, to put it mildly, in all the countries, because they're not interpretable, and they don't have this kind of promotion. And the only thing that the financial organizations can be held responsible is as some kind of candidate, as a champion, a candidate, and there's kind of a flow that exists in some kind of parallel world, some kind of part of the rule, and neural networks show higher quality, higher indicators. But due to the fact that it's very hard to explain why this computer has made this and that decision, it's impossible. That's why it is only at the level of some flows that can be possible, can be done. Who is responsible for the client? The organization is responsible for the client, because a contract is signed with them. And inside of this organization, these are some people who get punished. And to be held responsible inside an organization, you should understand clearly the field of implementation, where this or that model can be implemented or cannot be implemented. This is something heavily used in many banks. It's a matter of internal education, internal culture. If we talk about regulatory basis, Maxim, what we have touched upon a very important aspect is about the interaction of man and AI, and we can look at it in a broader way for the financial sector. What is really needed is some rules of the game, and determination of sequence of activities when this or that those events occurred, caused by activities of AI. Those risks that can occur in the financial sector, for example, connected with loss of capital, assets, and as an example of the sector of of pilotless technologies based on AI. Some more difficult questions: who is to blame, who's guilty, or if the car based on pilotless car gets into an accident, and what is to be done by AI if it understands that this accident was unavoidable, and who is to be held responsible for this risk. It's a dilemma, and this is a big issue to resolve. And to resolve that issue, there's been some basic issues of the ethics code that has been updated every time and developed, and with industrial agencies and businesses involved. It's a big job done to determine who is responsible. And talking about the startups in terms of developing AI, some colleagues have already said about that, or touched upon that. Literally, a short comment. We, on the whole, have had 5 or 6 institutions of development that have been permanently involved in identifying those startups and providing subsidies and providing grants. Skolkovo, for example, in order to understand this volume. It's more than 10,000 startups of different levels, more premature companies, those that are seed companies, and we are now developing a register of seamless companies. There's a center of innovation development that is involved in this, that is supposed to give verified true data about the different companies, so that in one place all the information gets collected about all those companies. That we could see their development, the level of their technological maturity, and the projects and the products they are able to develop, including those. It is going to be one of the sources of information for the potential investors that want to be involved in different startup businesses. Thank you. AI is impossible without man, without humans. What I see, I'm looking at Alexander. We have an alliance of AI. Alexander is very important. Is going to provide us with a very important track. The microphone stops working when this talk about startups starts. In our alliance of an intellectual of artificial intellect, Alexander, responsible for the people, for education, for the personnel. No AI can write qualitatively on its own, and we understand the challenges we see, the challenges caused by the current events. Alexander, what is to be done to compensate for that, and from your point of view, how this situation is supposed to develop further on? First of all, we shouldn't be relaxed earlier, and now we have to be especially attentive and careful. As that cartoon showed, there's a lot of reserves, and the losses cannot be measured. We have encountered such a situation. In order to obtain a good AI is all personnel. It's not hardware. It's not a knowledge of some technologies. Technologies are accessible. They are open. All of them are on the open source, and someone starts telling that they have some kind of unique technology. We have that. They're lying to you when they have that. They have the unique team that they can do. Only they can team. But they're lying also. This is there. This is here. These are the people. If the entire Yandex leaks, is going to be open access. It's not a problem. The code, experience and code has been accumulated. It's not a problem. The problem is to find people who can develop, who can do something. People are not taken from nowhere. Specialists, humans, intellects. Those are strong people, school children that like mathematics, that have capabilities. Sometimes people can be discovered in the first year of universities, and they peak in the third and fourth year of university studies. That people can enhance some kind of key results of your company, where some best specialists have been made their effort and can't do anything. And those people, those kids, can come in and make it better. In order to get them, to win them, we should have high-quality teachers that can make results out of them. The number of these teachers are just single case cases of such teachers, the most surprising thing, striking thing is just a few people know them in person. That my value is that I know them, I keep communicating with them, I know whom they're educating. If we have a look at the statistics of what years and from what universities people are working, I can trace migration, how this or that teacher has been changing universities, and where high-quality personnel appear, just a few of them, there's just a few of them, and this is what we need to preserve, take care of, even the most talented teachers that are working, that are engaged in 17 jobs, for example. And you can imagine their salaries. There's a big pressure exercised on them to make them move to other industries. If there are teachers who are teaching some basic algorithms, if they haven't changed for the last 20 years, it's all right. If they teach neural networks in such a way, it's not she's not competent. He might be competent only when two conditions are met. If this is an active employer of the company whose products are you using, or it's a serious researcher who has, and his disciples have scientific publications, and because in our industry, science and industry are directly connected, we have hit a record when a scientific article was published. At the time, the main aspect, the code from that article was implemented in the industry within 2 days, and practically it is implemented within a longer time. But Sansanich, I think, will claim to his team when they have a year passes since the article was published and it's not been implemented, it should be implemented right away. And we should understand that when someone overtakes someone else, it doesn't mean that someone emulates someone else's. It means that they started simultaneously. When some people reached the final point earlier, a bit earlier than the others, the top specialists that can emulate, that reproduce those who are struggling behind. It's just a few of them in the world, everywhere. Single products on those people. The majority of those sitting here, including me, I am a manager. If we move to another country and go look for employment, we're not going to get employed because they need other specialists, they have other skills, and it's very complicated. And the top machine learners are moving horizontally without losing anything. They are going to proceed doing the same job, get the same salaries, big salary, high salaries. They're demanded, and nothing changes for them. And we're competing for these people all over the world. And it's unbelievably hard to provide such situations and conditions, to have them come to us and keep them working with us. And this hygienic minimum, what needs to be done to do is to start understanding the value of such people, having such people. And with this, when you start to understand why these people are so much significant, important, you start to develop some mechanisms of retaining those people. You start to treat these people the same way, because if you don't understand, there are some other people who understand, and you will see those people go and join them. Luckily, these people have not been they're really celebrities, but it's very good to talk to them, to deal with them. If someone is valued and appreciated somewhere, and this is a huge if there's a huge assessment, much better assessment for these guys, they can go, they are likely to go there. We should provide everything possible to have those people, talented people, to work for you. And this might be your competitive edge, because if people leave you, if your talented specialists leave you, it's very bad. For example, it's hard to see real results in startups. Why people go to join the startups? Because the contribution made by humans is more pronounced. It's a very important moment. Thank you, Alexander. How do you retain and attract those people, those talented specialists, scientists and researchers and talented ones? Look, this is a very good question. It's not all completely to me, this question. Maxim Vedyakhin answered, because he is the most famous figure on the modeling and caching, and this is his merits, first of all, and his team. And what it seems to me that the key history is the personality of Maxim's personality, his scientific data and human characteristics, and around him there's a big team that has formed around, gathered around him, and he consists of some students, because this team was formed actually from the late 1990s, and of course the team involves about several hundreds of people, and of course it's great to see that there's no rotation and there's no other problems like that from my point of view. I forgot the name, Alexander. You have said that correctly. This is in many respects it's about the personality, individuality. Individuality is not professional content, but it's human content. Luckily, Maxim has this kind of combination. It represents this kind of combination, and I believe that this is the success of the Sberbank, that they have such a personality, such an individuality. And this individuality feels comfortable because he sees the results of its work activities. This is the confirmation of what Alexander has said. Thank you for okay, this is a very correct person in the right place. So how do you retain people, specialists, talented ones? Your bank is commercial. You have those fruits and data scientists, and I can imagine launch data scientists. Or how to call this in their commercial banks. I believe that rather than those specific personalities, it's about common values the company shares. People join not only because they want some results, to get some results of their job, but this is a gigantic motivation. This balance between I can and see that results, this very strong stimulation, motivator. On the whole, there's some sense here for the sake of which this organization exists, and what are you going, what is striving to do, who is controlling you, and who is managing you, and what are the aims, and the whole. Our technical specialists are very highly qualified, and we are feeling this year, we've been feeling very comfortably in terms of that. I think major part is it's connected with the culture, because people are happy to communicate with each other. We spend most of our time at work, when we don't sleep, of course. If it is great to talk and work with these people further on, if you share some common ideas, common outlooks and views, and you want to share, to drink to have some beer together with these people after work, this is the most important stimulus from my point of view, to retain those teams of specialists. Yes, beer can do a lot. Andzhey, what is your situation? What is the situation in your company with the specialists? How are things with the specialists in your company? Things are all right. We don't have many scientists, and we have more people who are involved in databases and working with databases. Moscow Stock Exchange is concentrating on selling those data and derivatives of analytics based on those data. The data scientists are, as a rule, are retained by interesting tasks. Nothing else is making a better impact, instead of attracting a good data scientists by providing interesting tasks for them. So now, dear friends, thank you so much. I'd like to say that we have fulfilled our task. The session has not been so boring as I was planning to have it. I believe that everyone took an interest in hearing, and I am inviting you to participate in a big conference that is held by the Alliance. We are waiting for the President of the Russian Federation and all those interested in the AI. I think this is an event that is very much sought after. Thank you so much, and have a good evening, all of you. Thank you.